Here I am, northern BC. Late in the afternoon and quite the day I had today. I almost don't want to admit to what went on today. But whatever. I got my eyes on one of my target bucks for the first time in 3 years. I've been watching him I've caught him on trail camera, I think twice a year for 3 years, same zone. And then I finally, big fresh dump of snow last night and I went looking. Big long slow walk. Actually got my eyes on him. Couldn't get the shot off though. And then I kept on hiking around slowly, timber hunting, and then decided to back out of there. There's a handful of deer doing their thing, bouncing around all over the place. I didn't want to spook them all right out of there. It's pretty thick, so I left. And then I got to my truck and I had my licenses in this jacket pocket where I have my phone. Wore out my little plastic case that I keep them all in. You have different tags, right? So I put them in the shirt pocket, jacket zip pocket, my hunting jacket, and my phone's in there too. And I'm like, okay, don't be stupid. Be careful and keep that thing zipped up. Don't lose your tags. They're white pieces of paper. I'll show them to you. So sure enough, this is the size of them, right? I got back to the truck and I was getting them out of the truck, getting them out of my pocket. And you have to have all of them with you, whether or not you're hunting a specific species or not. You have to have them all together. So I've got 2 mule deer tags. One's for black-tailed deer, if they call it a mule deer. We got an elk tag and I got a whitetail tag. So I get out of the truck, I get back to the truck and I'm going through. I'm like, where's my whitetail tag? And I'm looking everywhere and I'm fiddling through them. I'm like, nope. I'm like, oh my God, I lost my whitetail tag in the woods in that snowy trail I just did for the last 4 hours. You gotta be kidding me. So I'm all in a big panic. And had to drive all the way back into town, took the trailer off my truck. And then I started phoning to some other further away towns. The nearest one's over an hour away. And I phoned this hunting store to see if they had any whitetail tags, and they did. So I got changed. I drove all the way there. I literally got into the hunting store, pulled out my other tags because my number's on it. My whitetail tag and my elk tag were stuck perfectly together with one of the mule deer tags. Can you believe that? Oh my God. Oh well, still got a whitetail tag. Imagine if I shot that big guy this morning and then I started panicking trying to find my whitetail tag and didn't think I had one. Oh my God. Oh well, shit happens. I got no problems admitting to doing stupid shit. Shit happens. Anyway, so I'm on these huge power lines that feed down to a big power plant, big dam on the Peace River on the way back. And there's not too many places I can go for a view to show all of you a real cool view right around here or in between here and where I was the next town over. There's a lake where me and Macaroni and my other horses used to tie up and sleep at this little lake halfway to go guiding for the year. I thought about stopping there, but the busy road's right next to it. And the background sound of the odd truck would have drove me bonkers, so this will have to do. But anyway, I got a bunch of new emails, as usual, of people wanting to be heard and share their truth, all right? So I'm gonna do it. And then another quick note, side note. You know, like last night I was scrolling through some YouTube stuff to try to find something to listen to, fall asleep to, and then I just noticed that there's not too much stuff to find online right now that's high vibration, happy shit. You know what I mean? There's so much negative going on in the world today, and it's everywhere. It's dominating social media. It's dominating YouTube. It's kind of frustrating because I like to try to keep the vibration on a higher vibration. You know what I mean? And not be dismal and dark and miserable and angry and sad and divide. It's tough these days, right? Like, so I try to encourage people. Maybe I haven't done enough lately, but for a while I've been trying to encourage people to do what makes you happy, no matter what. Do what makes you happy. You have to. You know, you have to. I try to lead by example. But holy cow, man, it's almost, and then I look into and listen to different things, and especially in Canada, a lot of the absolute insane things going on. It's almost like I wonder how many years away we are from every man for themselves. You know what I mean, in a way? It's just the way it's going. Absolute divide, absolute corruptness going on. It's frustrating. And I was just thinking to myself, driving along, wondering, you know, what's this going to come to? Is this going to actually, it's got to implode sooner or later, don't you think? And then what's going to happen? It's going to be every man for themselves, in a way. It's too bad, like, there was just somewhere where all the good people could go and maintain the good, make their own rules, the good rules, you know, the responsible rules, where we're all in for it for the long run together and creating nothing but good, you know? How's that going to happen? I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's what happens when you're all by yourself in the woods for days on end. You ramble pretty good. I do anyway. I hope I'm making sense. Who knows if I am or not. Anyway, let's see what we got, shall we? What do we got here? Fresh out of the inbox. Mark this as red. I got a repeat yesterday. Uh-oh. Not a repeat. But we offer a refund at the door for the ticket you paid for to get in here, right? A strange experience while backpacking in Colorado was the title of this email sent to all of us. Hi, Steve. Thank you for your time and platform for all of us to have a place to share our experiences and learn to help put the pieces together. It has inspired me to share my story. Perfect. This occurred September 2020 in the Indian Peaks Wilderness on the Continental Divide in Colorado. I've been backpacking solo in the most remote parts of Colorado for 20 years, and this is the only time that had me questioning what I heard and saw. I didn't find your channel until after this happened, so I was naive to what else in the woods besides the normal bears, elk, and deer and moose, etc. I just spent 2 nights at a secluded high-elevation lake at 11,500 feet. Beautiful, quiet, and uneventful. Since it's a 10-mile hike out, I decided to come back down the mountain, and I had just climbed up without a trail and spent the 3rd night at the base of the mountain at 9,500 feet as to get a head start out in the morning. There's a nice open meadow with a stream running through it at the base of the mountain where I camped the 3rd night. Before the sun went down, I'd walk the perimeter of the meadow just to check things out and look for trout in the stream. I didn't notice any scat, beddings, or activity that would have my attention while I was sleeping, so I went to sleep without any concerns. It was then sometime in the middle of the night, I don't know exactly when as I don't carry a watch while I'm backpacking, I was awakened by what sounded like an elephant walking through the trees on the hillside surrounding the meadow. I listened to try to think what was large enough to make such a noise. Breaking branches, just crashing through without any care. I thought an elk, of course, but why would it be in the trees on the steep side of the mountain and not just walking along the side of the meadow? No bugling either. Bugling, for anybody who doesn't know, that's what a bull elk does, all right? I unzipped my tent and shined my headlight in the direction of the noise, but I didn't see anything. It didn't make sense to me for an elk to be pushing through the brush and trees like that because of how difficult it must have been for it based on how much noise it was making. Like I said, it sounded like an elephant walking through. Oh well, I just said a little prayer like I always do to ask to keep me safe through the night. And with that, I went back to sleep with the breaking branches and all. Nothing more that night. And early in the morning, getting up with the sun, I was backpacking up, almost ready to head out. An older man walks by about 30 feet from me. We just had a quick moment of eye contact, and I gave a head nod. No words. I continued packing up. Strange, I thought. I didn't see him approaching as it was an open meadow, and I would have noticed him further away. He was out of sight before I thought to look up again at him. But then it didn't make any sense. I was really perplexed. He had no pack, no gun, dressed lightly in jeans and flannel shirt, not hunting or backpacking attire, 10 miles in a very remote area. I was thinking that he didn't camp overnight, and it's too early to have hiked in that far. He was heading out of the meadow to the trail down the valley. I'm a fast hiker, and I thought I'd catch up to him shortly, maybe talk to him then. And as I made my way onto the trail, I noticed I was clearing the spider strands / webs that crossed the trail. So he wasn't ahead of me. That's always been my tell if someone else is ahead of me on the trail in the mornings. Yeah, same with me with game and the game trails, right? So I backtracked to my camp spot and looked to see where he could have gone. Maybe off the side of the trail or along the stream? Nope, too thick. No other trail. I wouldn't even walk off that trail through it. I looked for his camp spot to see if he had one, but nothing. I then also looked at the area where I heard all the noise at night. It was a very deep mountainside on that side of the meadow, the Continental Divide, literally. Boulders and scree with trees growing through it. No sign of a game trail where I heard the noise. The game trail is along and through the meadow. I'll include a few pictures of the area. I thought it was strange and all, but not necessarily bad or harmful. Now that I've been following your site for about 4 years, I'm thinking it was similar to what others have reported, without the rock throwing, thankfully. And as to seeing the man in the morning, maybe not a man after all. I always treat the land with respect, low impact and minimalistic. I find a lot of feathers backpacking, and some feathers seem to be placed out for me. I talk out loud in the woods saying, I'm just here visiting. Thank you for letting me be here. I don't mean any harm. I've said that for the animals, mainly the bears. I've never had a bad encounter. Keep up the good work, my friend Andrew. Okay, Andrew, appreciate that. And the photos. It's looking at everything for the first time here. There you go. Thunderbolt Lake. Pretty rugged stuff. Odd, right? You know, we had somebody else emailed us a while back about running into an old guy dressed in old clothes, old cowboyish or something real old, and they drove up to him and talked to him. But same thing, they met this old guy and all of a sudden he vanished. Like, literally vanished. Oh, ravens coming over. They're probably wondering if I got a fresh kill at my feet. Yeah, weird. And I got a quick note about Colorado and the wilderness. Years and years, holy shit. Yeah, I'm going to go probably 15 years ago anyway. I guided a man, a superb human being. His name was Stet Edmonds, a wildlife biologist from Colorado. I've learned a lot from that man in his 12-day hunt. Real good guy, so much knowledge. Got him a big, huge record book moose. And he was telling me that there's always been a bunch of controversy of whether or not there's grizzly bears in Colorado. And apparently, anybody who is apparently some sort of authority on what goes on in the real world, they're all pushing back saying, no, there's no grizzlies in Colorado. It's a huge, big controversy in the state. But he told me that they actually dropped off some biologists via helicopter to go and investigate whether or not they could find sign of grizzly bear. And 2 of them got mauled by a grizzly bear after the helicopter left. But still not sufficient evidence to prove there's grizzly bears, right? Crazy. And then he went home and he actually mailed me a book called Ghost Grizzlies of Colorado. I still got it. Interesting book. But you might be familiar with it maybe, I don't know. But it's really amazing, the human ego. Is it the human ego? Or is it, like, I can't figure out why in the States it seems more prevalent than in Canada, where the DNR absolutely opposes acknowledging the existence or the presence of various predators, apex predators, right? Especially in the East. Nope, there's no cougars here. Nope, there's no wolves here in other places. Nope, there's no grizzly bears here. Because they all know those invisible lines between states, right? And they adhere to them. But I don't understand where the motivation is. Where's the motivation for the DNR, specifically in the US, to... Actually, no, I had an email quite a handful of years ago. Somebody did email me in who worked for the DNR, and they said that if they acknowledge the presence of some of the apex predators, then funding for a study money would disappear. I heard that one. I don't know. Is that valid? I don't know. But anyway, if you live in Colorado, I assure you there's grizzly bears in the state of Colorado. There's a bit of a ramble, isn't it? Anyway, I appreciate that email, man. I'll hopefully remember to put these pictures in the video once I get back. Man, that paved road off through the trees sure is loud. I can hear it loud and clear. All right. This next email, fresh out of the pot. Mark it as red, as usual. You guys see me. I mark them as red every time. Why do I have so many marked as unread? I don't get it. That have been read before, you know? This is titled, 2 Questions. Mr. Isdall, here are 2 questions I would ask a Sasquatch if they were willing to answer. Number 1, who are the star people if they are not the Sasquatch? Question mark. Number 2, if good Sasquatch and bad Sasquatch are not taking humans, are the star people taking humans off the planet? Please call me Chris. You can call me anytime if you have any questions. I have one story that would make you jump, and we have met in person before. U.S., I will save your name, but United States Department of the Interior National Park Service, retired. Oh, really? I'll have to do a search on your name. Why did you not include your experience that would make me jump in here? It's pretty tough to make me jump. Actually, I was thinking about that. Fleeting thought just now. It's not that easy to make me jump. But I'd love to hear the story. Please email us in your experience so I can share it with all the people. And whatever else you might want to send in. I'm not sure what questions I would have to make a phone call conversation, but maybe if you send me your story, I might have a whole bunch. Maybe what the head office thinks about what this topic and what the head office instruct you guys to say when you heard about reports. This next one out of the pan is titled Michigan DNR Officers Sighting. Go figure. What are the chances? This is a screenshot. Excuse me, from an Animal Planet page or something? Huron Mountains. 2 conservation officers reported capturing thermal footage of a 7.5-foot bipedal creature in the Huron Mountains in September 2025. The officers noted the creature's unusual heat signature and stride, and investigators later found 18-inch tracks and dark hair at the scene. Monroe County, a father and son reported a credible Bigfoot sighting in May 2025. A credible Bigfoot sighting. Isn't that funny? That's an odd one for me to hear. A credible one. You guys imagine if I started off sharing people's experiences with, we have a credible sighting. Ready for this one? Oh boy. Sorry. Monroe County. The father and son reported a credible Bigfoot sighting in May 2025 in a swampy area west of Monroe. They described seeing a large, dark, furred primate that ran up a slope on 2 legs. The blah, 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 deemed the encounter credible after questioning the witness. All right, gotcha. Appreciate that share. I don't know where the screenshot came from, but it got shared. Here's a funny one. Is it an amazing group? Isn't it? That amazing group. I don't hear anything from them. I do not watch anything when it comes to the BF whatever O. But imagine that kind of an ego where you have put yourself in a position to be the one who decides if it's credible or not. Holy shit. Holy shit, really? Really? We all know. Our guts know. We just need to hear from the people, and then it's up to you to decide. Nobody else. Nobody from some specialized website or organization. Nobody is in the position to come to you or me and dictate to you whether or not somebody or something's credible after an interview. Right? What a bunch of bozos. Bozos. Kicked to the curb a long time ago. Next, tiny slice of the puzzle. Remembering. From Michael Lewis, who's emailed in to us quite a few times. I've been interested in and reading about Sasquatch since the mid-70s. That led to the past decade, where I've read or listened to various encounters people have had, from the simple to the complex, from the trivial to life-changing, probably in the range of 50 to 60,000 so-called stories, from sources like your channel, among other similar sources. Yet in my own life experiences, there was only one in my mid-teens where I felt it could possibly be a Sasquatch. A small group of us were following a compass course bushwhacking through the Rockies foothills, north of Edson, Alberta. When going through an extremely dense patch of evergreens, I heard footfalls behind us. Cautious of a bear, I first dropped to the rear of the group, then made a few glances back but saw nothing. So I quickly, and I thought silently, dropped to squatting while turning to look behind towards the noise, looking from down low so I could see without my view being blocked by the dense higher branches. The following footfalls stopped after making one step, and I saw nothing. I waited for a moment or two, nothing. I stood and started on course again and again. There were a single set of bipedal footfalls following. Sorry. I just heard something behind me. I think it was snow or ice falling off those power lines. It's a weird sound, sorry. I waited for a moment or two, nothing. I stood and started on course again, and again there was a single set of bipedal footfalls following, but distinctly quieter, seemed more careful. The bipedal footfalls didn't make sense to me, envisioning a slow, lumbering bear on 2 feet. Despite knowing of and being interested in Sasquatch, that possibility didn't enter my mind. Either following my squat and look, or from my paying attention more, the single set of footfalls were moving parallel, slightly to the left of our course. I tried to stop and squat another 2 or 3 times, and the footfalls instantly stopped. And I never saw anything, nor movement, not even any branches. Trying to feel, then feel out in that rear direction didn't yield anything either. Nothing perceived. I was accustomed to being able to feel where people were, so why not a bear following? Those stop, squat, and look made me last by a bit to the fire cut that was our destination. Nothing was more heard. So, no fear or other feelings of any sort, so I walked up the fire cut towards the truck at the top of the hill without any concern. Just a tiny puzzlement as I add that to bear, but it doesn't seem bear. So, while that fits portions of encounters numerous people have described, there's nothing in it that I feel meets proof that it was a Sasquatch. Only that I know of nothing that could do that. So I was surprised when last week I suddenly had a clear memory from long ago of a minor encounter that was clearly a Sasquatch. No trauma or fear with it. Really simple and trivial. I thought that suddenly remembering that now, without any meaningful trigger, was rather odd. Why not remember this before the last week? Particularly given the thousands upon thousands of stories, surely something in a number of them should have triggered my memory, but didn't. I meant to write it down and add it to my notes, but despite the novelty of my curiosity, for some reason I was treating it as trivial. Something else distracted me before I wrote it down. Now, less than a week later, the details of that memory are gone. 3 or 4 days after the details were gone, I remembered remembering it and being curious as to why and intending to write it down, but I didn't. I remembered it was both simple and trivial. Perhaps the location had significance to something that didn't want it remembered. Perhaps it could be potentially confusing or traumatic to me at the time it occurred, so myself or something suppressed it. The only clue was suddenly having a hugely elevated heart rate on Saturday evening, from usual resting around 65 to 140, and pounding, sitting still. Excuse me. That lasted over 3 hours. But I did not have that reaction when remembering the event. So upon realizing it had been suppressed again, I'm pulling at straws here. Going back over a rough timeline of my life doesn't suggest anything to even when it occurred. The only hint is that it was from long ago, as in greater than 2 decades ago, most likely in my 20s. Is there a suppressed trauma, but when the memory came up last week, I didn't remember the trauma part or a greater portion of the event? Did something external at the time suppress the memory? I haven't a clue. And I'm not prone to memory issues, just that I've researched many detailed things during my lifetime. So I have to go back to notes for many things to ensure accuracy. For example, you don't want to make me think you need to know about hemostasis, and TXA. Else I'll enthusiastically be drawing you graphics, charts, and graphs for benefit versus treatment delay to no null benefit in citing studies and acute severe bleeding data sets with N placebo of 20,044 and N TXA of 20,094 treatment protocols. And I'm 6-hour and 10-hour blood serum levels. I'm not the type of person you want to invite to a party. Only just threw my brain sideways. Now I'm really effing curious what the event was, when it was, and where it was. I'm not getting any kind of a hint. LOL. Sort of like my memory of gold flecks in black sand I once found in a creek in the hills in central eastern Ontario in my 20s, lifting handfuls and marveling at the sparkling in the bright sunlight as I let the wet black sand slide out of my hand back in the water. Then decades later I learned that it was a sign of gold, and I cannot remember where that was, LOL. So I keep telling myself it must have been Michael. There you go, Michael. Shared, man, thanks. I don't know, hopefully it comes back. Your memory comes back to that exact moment and you recall it and write it down. I'll bet you're kicking yourself not to, if that was gold, especially today, the price of gold. Can you imagine if you went back and found that spot right now? Yeah, gold and silver. Gold and silver, as all the world currencies are getting deflated, steadily becoming possibly worthless whenever the crunch is going to come. You guys see any big buck cross behind me? Wouldn't that be funny? That'd be funny to get back and great big huge mule deer goes cruising right behind me. I didn't even see it. That happened on here probably, man, I don't know what that was, 5 or 6 years ago. I was in a spot where I hunt blacktails and I set up the camera and I'm talking away. It wasn't during hunting season. I'm babbling away. And behind me on the slope, there was 2 bucks chewing away in the greens. I didn't have a clue they were there. I think there's 3 deer there total, or maybe 2. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Anyways, let's see if I got anything else in here. All right, I don't know what happened there. I had to switch cameras from my Canon R7. The record button stopped working, won't record. Turns on, focuses, won't record. Now I got back to the Sony Handycam. Anyway, I just realized it through my babbling. The previous emailer wrote in with the 2 questions. Who are the star people? If the Sasquatch people aren't taking humans, I don't know. There's a lot of people that are convinced the star people are quite real. A lot of fairly credible people, sane people. You know, they're not delusional human beings. They're talking with facts and they have somewhat sort of receipts. I don't know myself. I don't know. But I do know, and you ask who's taking the human beings. I do know we have had a lot of testimony from credible people. Credible meaning they had nothing to gain and seem quite sane in their testimonies. And the gut instinct says they're legit. That's the number one judge for me. But anyway, they have taken human beings. Albert Ostman had numerous First Nations ladies have been taken. Kids have been taken, you know. But I do know that somebody who's been investigating missing people told me a while back that the threat is coming from up there. And said it with absolute conviction. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Who do you guys think is taking human beings? You know, there was Sean Ryan had quite the guest on there, a contractor, U.S. military. Oh no, he wasn't a contractor, there's another one from the South Pole. But there was an ex-U.S. military guy somewhere in the tropics. Something's going down and they came across some Caucasian, what seemed to be, I don't know, deep state guys, whoever they were, fully armed, and they had some kind of a craft that was hovering off the ground right at waist level, not making a sound, and they were taking people from this tropical southern mid-south hemisphere country. And this guy had quite the testimony in the Sean Ryan show. But if I had to guess, do I believe some kind of crazy force from up there is taking human beings? I probably put a lot of money on that as fact myself at this stage of the game for what I've learned. Do I think that there's human beings, very intelligent human beings, taking people? Absolutely. Without a doubt. Crossbred with demons or full-on human-looking demons. Either way, right? How the hell do you take somebody? It's pretty amazing. How do people actually take human beings, especially children? I don't get it. I don't get it. How do people kill people? How do people steal the life of someone? I don't get it. I mean, I get it in self-defense, but I mean, in a predatory nature or in a nature, or just to benefit yourself by taking a human being's life. So crazy. That's so heavy. It's so low. Dark. But anyway, I don't want to go down a dark road. It's too easy to go dark these days, right? But I've got stuff to do. I got a pile of wet stuff I got to try to get dried out for tomorrow and figure out a plan for tomorrow. What am I going to do? Who am I going to go after tomorrow? And I'll report back later. It is cold. I got jeans on. It's funny, when you get out in this cold and you should put on a pair of denim jeans, it's like you might as well be wearing frickin' nylons. But anyway, share my story at howtohunt.com. Maybe throw down, I'll read the comment section tonight. Throw down, who do you think is the worst guilty culprit when it comes to taking human beings, as in making them disappear? All right, not just children. We know there's a group of absolute sick sons-o' bitches taking thousands of kids. That's a given. But in general, humans in general. What do you think? Are they going up there? Are they going down there? Are human beings the number one culprit? Who's the major culprit when it comes to missing people? What do you think? What do you guys think? I'm curious to hear from the people. And then we'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe I'll take you guys in the woods tomorrow. We'll see. It's tough, though, when it's barfing snow and I'm hunting, trying to be stealthy. All my stuff's packed away in my backpack on my back, and I'm covered in snow and discomfort, but we'll see. Maybe I can pull it off. Either way, I'll try to get back tomorrow, all right? Hope everybody's doing great out there. I'll be back later. Sorry for the babble.